Hello. A few times I've seen on forums, how do I reload, what equipment do I use? So I've just put this video together on how to reload a centerfire pistol cartridge. This is not a definitive guide of how to do it, this is just the way I do it. A lot of reloaders out there might do things in different order, but the end result is a safe round. So some of the equipment you will need, first of all you will want loading data. So this comes in the form of publications that list the majority of the calibers around and all the heads. So one's by Lyman, this one's by Lee, very good books. You can also get little brochures that are issued by the powder manufacturers, very good but a little bit limited. Or you can also get specific caliber books. So this book, which is called One Book One Caliber, just covers 44 Magnum, which is a cartridge I'm going to reload a few rounds of now. Others are available for different sizes. I also reload different calibers, but for today I'm just going to do a few rounds of 44 Magnum. So you will want your cartridges to reload. So here we got some fired brass. They're a little bit on the dirty side, so they haven't been cleaned yet. As you can see, they've still got the spent primer in. Here we have large pistol primers. Although I am reloading a Magnum round, it doesn't mean you have to use Magnum primers. I've never had any problem with ignition by using standard size primers. Heads, because I'm using these in a Marlin at Magnum velocities, they need to be jacketed or else they will tumble. So these are 240 grain copper coated heads. Then you want powder. So here I'm using Bullseye. I am no way stating that these are the only components you can use. You use what you find suits your round. Next bit of equipment you'll want is you'll want a set of dies. These are 3-piece tungsten carbide dies. The good thing about these type of dies is you do not need to lube the cases. So you've got your decant resize, neck expander and bullet seats. Now some of you seasoned shooters might think, why am I using a turret press without the auto indexer? I find for the way I reload, with the cleaning in between, it works fine for me. So the next thing you'll want is you'll want a powder dispenser. The way this one works is you've got an adjustable volume there by turning that screw in and out. And as you tip it down, that then fills with powder. And as you tip it back the other way, it comes out into your case. Pan for weighing your powder. Little cordless drill driver, handy. Pocket primer, reamer, to clean out the pockets, primers. And over repeated firings, cases grow in length. It's not too bad on pistol calibers, but on rifle calibers it is quite important. So here we have a cutter with 4 little blades. Into that you put the pilot, which is relevant to the cartridge you're reloading. You then seat the cartridge in the collet, put that in the cordless drill driver, and then you have a chamfer tool to take away the burrs on the inside and the outside. You will want a good set of scales. I use some digital ones, very good. Important to check when you're reloading that your components are what you believe they're to be. So these should be 240 grain heads. Get rid of. So it's 24209. A little bit over, but then you'll find others. 242. Let me just check the zero. Is that zero? Yeah. So they're coming out at 242. Set of digital vernier calipers. Doesn't have to be digital, I just find they're easier. A way of priming your cases, I use a hand primer. I find that you get a better sense of feel when you're seating the primer. You want a case cleaner of some description, so here's a turbo vibratory cleaner where you put the cases in. These have got crushed walnut in. Leave it in there for a couple of hours, it comes out nice and shiny. And then finally a loading block. So that's the equipment that I use just for doing a pistol cartridge. Let me just put the camera on the tripod. So the first thing to do is to decap your cases. So I'm just going to do 5 at each stage rather than standing here and doing a whole box. So put your case in, pull down with it on the right setting. What I would normally do is, after I've decapped them, put them in a case tumbler. But just for today, the purpose of this video, I'm just going to ignore that stage. So there is a decapped case. Primer is now missing, as you can see the daylight coming through the hole there. So as I said, I would normally at this stage clean these cases, but I'm not going to today. But the next stage is to check the overall length. Don't know if you can see that. There are the dimensions, the factory dimensions for a 44 Magnum cartridge. So the first thing we're going to do is check that the overall length of the case is no more than 1.285. So set this to 1.285. Lock that off. And then see where the cases are. These cases fit in there okay, so they do not need to be trimmed. If they did need to be trimmed, you would use a case cutter, screw in the pilot, seat the case in the collet, tighten. You would then run that against those cutter heads and it would shave off down to the length. You would then, with the chamfer tool, quickly run it around the outside and then run it around the inside. But these are under length, so we don't need to do that. So the next stage then is to prime them. Doesn't do the camera any good. So, this particular primer, you don't need any separate collet heads, you just change the size for the size of the primers, black for large and cream for small. Tip it up, but always make sure that the mouth of the cup is facing away from you, just in case you should have a primer go off. And then squeeze. And there's your primed case. It's quite a quick way of doing it as well. So there's the 5 cases done. Next is to do a powder charge. Let's reposition the camera. So fill the hopper, don't put too much in. Open it. Now I know from yesterday the powder charge is set for just below the maximum powder charge for this weight head. So all you do is put the case underneath, tip it up, then down, and I've just made a mistake. What I need to do is to run these through the press and just expand the mouth slightly. So I've emptied that powder out. So you turn that onto the next one, which is to flare the neck. What this does is it flares the neck slightly, just enough so that you can seat the head in. What you don't need to do is to expand it too much, because it will reduce the case life. So there, it will not seat very easily. There it will seat and hold, ready for the next step. So I'll just run the other 4 through. So now to charge the cases. So there's the cases charged. Move that to the back. Right. So the next stage is just to seat the heads in the cases. So move the index on to the next one, which is the bullet seat and crimp. Take the head, put it in. And there we have a loaded round. Final check is to go back to your book, look up the maximum length, which is that bottom row, which is 1610. So same again with the vernier, 1610. Lock that off. I know that's 0.05, but and then check your round. That round's under length, so that'll be fine. So that is how I reload my pistol cartridges. As I said, this is not the way you have to do it all. This is just the way I do it. But the most important thing is when reloading, is to follow your book. So here, through to my book, and here for using a 240 grain using bullseye, the maximum charge was 8.9 grains. Well, I know I'm under that, but there is the most important thing in it: never exceed maximum loads. I have personally destroyed a barrel on a handgun a long time ago where I overcrimped a round. Fortunately I wasn't injured, it was just my pocket that was injured with a new barrel required. But follow your book. Whether or not it's, as I said, this one which is a specific calibre, or you go to some of the others where you have one book which covers multiple calibers, or the powder reloading guide, which is a bit basic, doesn't give you a tremendous variety, but it is usable. So that is how I reload my rifle pistol cartridges using a 3 die set, which is tungsten carbide. Have a good day and good shooting.